Level 1, the new fish. You arrive at the facility in a van with no windows. Your wrists are zip tied to a metal bar running along the seat. The man beside you hasn't said a word since county. Neither have you. The processing takes 6 hours. They take your clothes, your shoes, the chain your brother gave you when you turned 18, the photograph of him you've been carrying in your front pocket since the day you got arrested. They give you a number, not a name, a number. They give you a uniform 2 sizes too big, a mattress that sags in the middle, and a rule book that nobody has read in years. You are walked to your block by a guard who doesn't look at you once. Men watch you from cells, from the common area, from the top tier. They are not looking at you the way people look at strangers. They are looking at you the way mechanics look at an engine they're about to take apart. The moment you stepped off that van, a clock started. You have somewhere between 48 hours and 10 days to figure out who you are in here. On the outside, you were someone. You had a name people recognized, a block you grew up on, a reputation that took years to build. None of that followed you through intake. In here, you are nobody, a blank page, and this place is already picking up a pen. The first thing you learn is that everyone in this building belongs to something. The almighty vice lords run F block and the wait yard. The gangster disciples control the kitchen detail and 3 of the guards on the night rotation. Laim has the visiting room on weekends with the mail room that nobody discusses openly. If you came in without a flag, without a set, without people, you are a target with legs. Unaffiliated doesn't mean neutral. Unaffiliated means available. You eat alone your first night. You keep your eyes down and feel the room reading you like a page. A man sits across from you. He doesn't introduce himself. He just looks at you and says, "Who do you know?" That question is not conversation. It is the most important question anyone will ever ask you in this building. Your answer is the first move in a game that has already started. Level 2, the watched. Someone decided you might be worth something. Maybe it's the name you dropped when they asked who you know. Maybe it's your charges. Certain charges carry weight in here. Certain charges make men step back and reassess. Maybe someone on the inside already knew you were coming, knew your cousin, knew the block you ran, sent word ahead. The world is smaller in here than you can imagine from the outside. You are not in yet. You don't have a flag or a blessing or whatever this particular organization requires, but you are being evaluated. They give you small things to do to see how you handle them. They hand you a package and tell you to move it from D block to the laundry room during the morning count rotation. You move it, you don't open it, you don't ask what's in it, you deliver it. That is the correct answer. They tell you someone in protective custody needs to receive a message and that you need to find a way to get it there. You find a way. You don't explain how. That is the correct answer. They put you in a specific hallway at a specific time and tell you to stand there and watch. You stand there. You watch. Nothing happens. You don't know if that means the test passed or failed or if there was never anything to see. You don't ask. That is the correct answer. You are learning a language that has no dictionary. The way a man positioning himself near a doorway means the hallway behind you is not safe. The way a guard who used to nod at you suddenly looks through you means something changed. The way a conversation that sounds like nothing is actually everything. You are learning to read temperature. You are learning that in here everything means something, and reading it right is the difference between finishing your sentence and not finishing it. Level 3, the soldier. You are in. The ceremony was what it was. You will not talk about the ceremony. What matters is the morning after when you walk into the cafeteria, and the table you sit at is not a table you chose. That is a different thing entirely. A soldier's job is simple to describe and hard to live. You carry out orders. You don't question them, negotiate them, or modify them. You execute them and report back. The product that moves through this facility, the tax collected from men operating independently in your territory, the messages that need to be delivered to people who don't want to receive them. You are the instrument of all of it. When the organization decides someone owes, you collect. When the organization decides a point needs to be made, you make it. You don't plan any of this. You don't see the money in any real way. You absorb the risk while others absorb the profit. This is how it has always worked at the bottom of every organization that has ever existed. You are at the bottom, but here is what the bottom gives you that you couldn't buy with anything. You walk into a room and the room adjusts. Not because of you specifically, not yet. Because of what you represent. Because of the flag behind you and the weight it carries, and every man in that room knows it means. You have not eaten alone since the day you got jumped in. That sounds like a small thing. In here it is not a small thing. You have watched what isolation does to men. You have watched it hollow them out from the inside until there is nothing left but the hollow. You are not going to let that happen to you. Level 4, the hammer. You have a reputation now. There was an incident 4 months into your sentence. You will not discuss the incident. You don't discuss it because discussing it would reduce it to a story, and it is not a story. The reputation built itself, which is the only way a reputation like this holds. Leadership noticed. They always notice. The hammer is not the most violent man on the yard. The yard is full of violent men. Violence without control is a liability. It draws the warden. It draws the federal oversight unit that comes through twice a year with clipboards and questions nobody answers. It draws the kind of attention that shuts down operations for weeks. What you bring is something different. Tools have correct applications. A surgical cut and a wild swing are not the same thing, and only one of them builds anything. You collect what is owed, not just money. Some men owe silence. Some men have been having conversations with Officer Tatum on the B block night shift that are longer than those conversations need to be. You sit down with those men. You are calm. You ask questions. Most of the time, the conversation ends with them making the decision they should have made before you needed to show up. Sometimes it doesn't end that way. You are efficient. You feel less afterward than you expected to feel. You have examined that. You have looked at it from a few different angles. You have decided that continuing to examine it leads nowhere that helps you. So you stop. Level 5, the shot caller. Leadership moved you up because you showed them something most soldiers never show and most hammers never develop. Judgment. Anyone can follow an instruction. Almost anyone can apply force when directed. What almost no one can do is stand inside a situation where the information is incomplete, and the factions are competing, and the consequences run in 6 directions at once and make a call that turns out to be right. You have made those calls. You have been right more than you have been wrong. You run your section of this facility now, 3 blocks in the East Yard. You have a hammer who answers to you. You have soldiers beneath him. You settle disputes between your own people because your people have disputes constantly over commissary, over bunk assignments, over debts that have been owed so long, the original amount is no longer the point. You negotiate with other organizations because you have to. A bad negotiation means war. War means lockdowns. Lockdowns mean the entire economy of this facility stops. Nobody wants that. Not you. Not the other shot callers, not the administration. You manage the money. You take your cut from everything moving through your territory. You also manage something that doesn't show up on any ledger. Information. You know things about people on both sides of these bars that would end careers, end cases, end lives. That knowledge is your real leverage. It is also the thing most likely to get you killed if you are not careful about it. Level 6. The Connect. You have served 5 years of a 14-year sentence. In that time, you have built something that almost nobody inside these walls manages to build. A network that runs across organizations. The racial and territorial lines in here are like concrete. They don't bend. Except they do bend. You found where they bend. You found that economic supplies the same pressure to ideology in here that it applies to everything else. You found that the shot caller for the almighty vice lords and the shot caller for the Aryan Circle will sit at the same table if the number is large enough, and the man setting the table is trusted enough. You are that man. Everything moves through you. Product coming in through the visiting room, through the mail room, through 2 COs on the day shift and 1 on the night rotation, whose names you keep in your head and never write down anywhere. Money moving out through commissary accounts and wire transfers coordinated by people on the outside who know their piece and nothing beyond it. Information moving between organizations that publicly despise each other and privately depend on each other to keep the whole operation standing. Your network touches 4 other facilities. Federal investigators have been trying to map it for 2 years. They have not mapped it. You are 38 years old. You have been inside since you were 24. Your brother is 31 now. He stayed out. He has a job, an apartment, a life that continued while yours paused. He visits every few months. He sits across from you and talks about things happening in the world. And you listen and you nod, and afterward, alone in your cell, you think about the gap between his life and yours and what it would take to close it and whether that gap can ever actually close. Level 7. The underboss. The man above you is gone.